domestic routes in Nigeria are now mandated to switch off mobile phones during takeoff and landing.
Justice Emeka Nwite of the Federal High Court in Abuja has granted the application of the Department of State Services to protect the identity of the witnesses giving evidence in the trial of the 5 persons charged for the June 5, 2022 attack at St. Francis Xavier Catholic Church, Owo, in Ondo State. More than 40 worshippers died in that attack. At the commencement of trial in Abuja, the DSS, in a counter affidavit to the defendant's bail application, raised concerns about the defendant's capacity to interfere with prosecution witnesses if granted bail, given the alleged antecedent and propensity of violence.
5 defendants, arraigned on the 11th of August 2025 on a 9-count terrorism charge, walk into the courtroom for the commencement of trial, having pleaded not guilty to the charges. With the announcement of appearances, the prosecutor seeks the permission of the court for a short adjournment to enable Ayodeji Adadevoh, a senior advocate of Nigeria, to take over the case. He equally applied for the shielding of witnesses in order to protect their identity. The defense counsel, on his part, moved a bail application on behalf of the defendants, which was opposed by the prosecutor. In opposing the bail application, the DSS stated that the offences for which the defendants are standing trial are very serious, attracting capital punishment if convicted. It added that the defendants are standing trial for acts of terrorism, which led to the death of about 40 persons and caused grievous injury to over 100 worshippers at St. Francis Xavier Catholic Church, Owo, Ondo State, on the 5th of June 2022. The DSS disclosed that it is currently investigating leads with a view to apprehending individuals planning to intimidate witnesses and compromise the trial in the interest of the applicants. In a brief ruling, Justice Nwite granted the application of the DSS to protect the identity of the witnesses and adjourns ruling on the bail application to the 10th of September 2025. Outside the court, the prosecutor clears the air on the trial of the suspects.
There's been a misconception that we charge them to court because of a fundamental rights suit. And I'm here to categorically state that that information is false. There is no such fundamental rights suit anywhere. What the DSS has done was to do an intensive investigation. You don't charge people to court without sufficient evidence to sustain those charges. The DG of the DSS, who is a man that values and respects the rule of law, the man has said to the team, make sure that this investigation is being carried out judiciously. Make sure that all the stones are unturned to find out if these people are actually the ones that committed this offense. And for us to have come to court is because we believe we have sufficient evidence to sustain these charges.
He also speaks on the reason for opposing the bail application.
We know the nature of this matter is a very serious case. So when we have witnesses in such cases, the protection of those witnesses is our paramount concern. So we need to be sure that our witnesses are protected at all costs.
How many witnesses do you have?
At the moment, we have about 6, but as the case goes on, we'll see whether we need to bring more witnesses. When you look at the nature of the offenses that the defendants have been accused of, these people have been accused of belonging to a foreign terrorist organization. Let's protect our country. First of all, we need to be Nigerians before we talk about rights. So when people go about being accused of killing over 40 people that went worshipping, you cannot just allow them to roam the street. We need to protect our country. That is why we have said they shouldn't be granted bail, because we don't know the length that they may have access to. That's why we have just said no for now. Let them remain in our custody.
Welfare of the defendants is addressed by the defense counsel.
No. That's what I asked them. Are you maltreated? They said no. Oh, I'm so lovely about that.
The 5 defendants are standing trial over their alleged involvement in the June 5, 2022 attack at the St. Francis Xavier Catholic Church, Owo, Ondo State, which claimed 40 lives.
Meanwhile, the National Human Rights Commission is worried about the sharp rise in the number of killings and abductions across the country. It has released the July 2025 Human Rights Situation Dashboard, recording over 331,000 complaints and a sharp rise in killings and abduction across Nigeria. The Executive Secretary of the Commission, Tony Ojukwu, while announcing the Commission's July dashboard report, says that over 300 complaints were recorded during the period, and he warns the persistent violations undermine the rule of law and national security.
It is the July edition of the Human Rights Dashboard presented by the National Human Rights Commission, led by the Executive Secretary of the Commission, Mr. Tony Ojukwu. The Commission documented over 331 complaints in July, a 10% increase from June. Among the violations were 375 killings and 98 kidnappings.
In July, we saw an increase in targeted killings of law enforcement agents, frequent kidnappings and killings by bandits, brazen acts of violence by cultist groups, and widespread violations of the right to life, particularly in communities already vulnerable due to conflict and poverty. As we salute the courage and gallantry of our intelligence and armed forces, we call on others. We call on other sectors of our security and law enforcement to rise up to the responsibility of safeguarding the human rights of Nigerians currently facing attacks in Benue, in Plateau, in Niger, in Zamfara, in Imo, in Sokoto, and Borno states, all of whom, based on our dashboard for July, are facing dire security situations.
The dashboard shows that violence remained high in the North Central, accounting for 42% of all cases, with Benue State recording the highest number of violations.
For the month of July,
the Commission also reported attacks on religious freedom in Edo, Plateau, Kaduna, Niger, and Benue states.
Based on our analysis, it is safe to say that the freedom of religion came under heavy attack in the month of July from Edo State, where gunmen kidnapped and killed students of minor seminary, killing a security officer, abducting the three. The three seminarians are still in captivity as we speak. In Plateau State, 2 evangelists were killed. In Kaduna State, 5 worshippers were killed during church meeting. In Niger State, we also experienced kidnapping of a pastor. And then in Benue, a church leader and 3 others were killed in attacks in Gwa East.
In closing the session, the NHRC urges the media, security agencies, and state actors to strengthen institutions and raise awareness as it reassures Nigerians that the protection of their rights and dignity remains a priority for the Commission.
Investors can now access information about investment opportunities across the states of the Federation following the launch of Investopedia by the Nigeria Governors Forum. The Nigeria Governors Forum launched this one-stop-shop document for investors to access opportunities in investment at the subnational level. According to the NGF, the document showcases investment as well as bridging the trust gap between the investors and the states.
Created the Investopedia.
It's a gathering of state governors and investors at the nation's capital city as the Nigeria Governors Forum launch a key document titled the Investopedia in Abuja. Director General of the Forum sets the tone for the conversation, outlining 3 key solutions that the document hopes to provide.
The Investopedia will do 3 things: simplify investor access by consolidating credible projects into one gateway. Secondly, it will provide confidence through due diligence and transparent presentation of opportunities. Third, mobilize partnerships that go beyond financing to include technical support, capacity building, and risk mitigation.
The Governor of Nasarawa State, representing the Nigeria Governors Forum chairman, delivers the keynote address.
Your Excellency,
he underscores the critical role that the document will play in attracting investors to the states.
To To unlock prosperity, we must mobilize both global and African capital to finance prospects that create jobs, modernize infrastructure, and divine inclusive growth. This is the purpose of the NGF Investopedia. It is not just a catalog. It is an entry point showing investors not only where to invest, but also how to invest in Nigeria with confidence.
Investors and development partners here pledged their support for efforts to promote investments in the states.
From our understanding, the Investopedia serves as a catalytic instrument driven by the states and the platform of the Nigeria Governors Forum to ensure that there can be a compendium of opportunities. Jaiz Bank, we serve as a staunch advocate for transformative and potential developments in the sub-sovereign leadership.
This Investopedia initiative presents a unique opportunity to advance the path we advocate that leads to expanded trade, increased investment, and deeper commercial partnership between our nations. The United States believes in Nigeria's potential. We believe in your entrepreneurs, your innovators, and your workers.
When the speeches were over, the keynote speaker proceeds to officially launch the document. As the Nigeria Governors Forum officially launched the Investopedia, it believes strongly that the document will serve as a one-stop shop to guide investors to opportunities in the various states.
We turn our attention to healthcare. The National Primary Healthcare Development Agency has launched a 5-day orientation program for 126 newly recruited staff in Abuja. This initiative aims at strengthening the primary healthcare workforce and ensuring the delivery of quality basic health services to all Nigerians, regardless of their location or their background. Speaking at the event, NPHCDA's Executive Director and Chief Executive Officer, Dr. Muyi Aino, highlighted the significance of the onboarding exercise, asking participants to seize the opportunity to make a lasting impact in the country and in its careers.
126 young, vibrant people who will inject new energy and new ideas into the way we're doing things and succeed some of the retiring workforce. So to do that, we have to equip them as well. So this event today marks the beginning of the orientation of the first batch of these new hires. They're also Nigerians. They're beneficiaries of the primary healthcare system themselves. They bring ideas, they bring energy. We have the workforce. Ideas are not enough if you don't have the people to actually go there and implement them. So many of these people will be deployed to our headquarters. Many of them will be deployed to any one of our 6 zonal sub-headquarters. Some will even be in specific state offices, working directly day to day with state primary healthcare development agencies and other state colleagues to deliver services to people.
In part 2, after the break, 11 years after her ultimate sacrifice, we revisit the life and legacy of Dr. Mayor Stella Adadevoh, whose courage stopped the spread of Ebola in Nigeria. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting live from Lagos. As a quick reminder of our top stories. The Federal High Court in Abuja grants DSS request to shield witnesses in the war bombing trial. Nigeria Governors Forum launches Investopedia to promote investments across the state. 11 years on, Nigeria remembers Dr. Mayor Stella Adadevoh's sacrifice in stopping Ebola. And U.S. President Donald Trump rules out deployment of U.S. troops to Ukraine. Remember Dr. Stella Adadevoh, the consultant physician and endocrinologist who played a pivotal role in preventing the spread of the deadly Ebola virus in Nigeria back in 2014. Well, today marks 11 years since she lost her life to the virus in the course of duty, an uncommon sacrifice to humanity. Our next report takes a look at Dr. Adadevoh's heroic efforts, which yielded results for the greater public good.
Nigeria has now recorded 7 confirmed cases of Ebola virus disease.
One of the numerous information the then health authorities in Nigeria provided to the general public during the outbreak of the deadly Ebola virus in the country in the year 2014. At the time, what is considered the largest outbreak of Ebola virus disease was going on in West Africa, affecting primarily Guinea, Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Senegal. Until July 20, 2014, when the first case of the disease came into Nigeria through a Liberian American, Patrick Sawyer, who was physically sick on arrival into the country for a conference in Port Harcourt. He ended up at the first consultant hospital in Lagos, where healthcare professionals, led by consultant physician and endocrinologist Dr. Stella Adadevoh, attended to him.
Regrettably, the female doctor who attended to the index case at the private hospital in Lagos is infected.
Dr. Adadevoh, alongside 3 of her colleagues, contracted the disease through what was described as the violent efforts of Patrick Sawyer to discharge himself from the hospital, a move she and the hospital management stood against, which saved millions of lives that could have been exposed to the virus, but one that took the life of Dr. Adadevoh and her 3 colleagues. By October 2014, when Nigeria was declared free of the Ebola virus disease by the World Health Organization, the country had recorded 20 laboratory-confirmed EVD cases and a total of 8 deaths.
She was a very courageous person throughout her life, not even through the way she died. She was a true inspiration, and as her family, we miss her greatly. We used to call her small but mighty, so none of us were really surprised that she did what she did in 2014. But it's still very painful 11 years later, and that's why we're determined to make sure that we keep her legacy alive.
Dr. Adadevoh has been honored posthumously at different times, including a national honor of Officer of the Order of Niger, OON, and a movie, 93 Days, was shot in her memory. Her legacy also lives on through the Dr. Ameyo Stella Adadevoh Health Trust.
What she did is our driving philosophy at the organization at DRASA. We've worked in 32 states. We've established 13 health emergency response systems at 13 of Nigeria's largest points of entry, airports, seaports, and land borders in 9 states. We've equipped over 96,000 people, everyday people, to become health champions.
11 years after, Dr. Stella Adadevoh's heroic act during Nigeria's Ebola crisis is a testament to the power of courage and selflessness in the face of adversity and the critical role healthcare professionals play in safeguarding public health. Yomi Otaibe, Channels Television News.
And her legacy will definitely continue to live on. And to other stories now. One day after contractors took to the streets of Abuja, the nation's capital, to protest against why they call the non-payment of money for projects already executed by them, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has dismissed these claims, describing the allegation as false and without evidence. Mr. Wike was speaking during the commissioning of the Rehabilitation Phase 2 water treatment at Usman Dam in Abuja. According to him, corrupt practices will not be tolerated as FCT development and good governance will be felt by the people.
Please be seated. After completing 16 days of project commissioning in the FCT in July, the Minister of the FCT, Mr. Nyesom Wike, is here alongside the Minister of State, Dr. Maria Mahmood, the People's Democratic Party National Secretary, Samuel Anyanwu, and other dignitaries to kick off another set of commissioning at the Lower Usoma Dam in Ushafa, Buhari Area Council in Abuja. The Usman Dam serves as the main source of water supply for the city of Abuja and the surrounding areas. It's a vital piece of infrastructure for the FCT, providing both for domestic and industrial use.
The Abuja Water Master Plan provides for the impoundment of raw water at the Lower Usman Dam, which is augmented by the Gurara Water Transfer Scheme at periods of low water levels.
The minister had announced that the FCT administration signed a new agreement following President Tinubu's 2023 visits to China to expand water supply to satellite communities such as Buhari, Kubwa, and Karu.
This is an effort for us to provide a sustainable access to clean, potable, and safe water for the residents of FCT.
Some aggrieved contractors had staged a protest in the Federal Capital Territory, alleging they were owed and demanding immediate payments for projects completed. The minister has this to say.
I will never be intimidated. Let anybody who said I awarded a contract should bring the documents and show how I awarded the contract. You see, the problem in this country is that when you want to fight corruption, corruption will fight you back. And it's corruption that is fighting back. And we are going to defeat corruption.
The minister underscores the importance of the projects being commissioned.
To improve water supply to the residents of Abuja. To underscore the importance of what Mr. President holds. Phase 1, Phase 3, and Phase 4 have been awarded by the Federal Radio Council sometimes 1 month ago. And that, of course, will improve water supply throughout Abuja. In the name of God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit.
After the speeches, the minister led a delegation to commission the rehabilitation Phase 2 water treatment at Usman Dam and take a tour of the project.
For more on the news at 10, we go to Abuja studios now, where Millicent Walker is standing by to bring us more stories.
Many thanks, Anne. We begin in the aviation sector. When next you board a plane in Nigeria, you must switch off your phone during takeoff and also during landing. That's according to the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, NCAA. The NCAA Security Committee announced a new rule today during a meeting with stakeholders in Abuja. The chairman of the committee, who also doubles as the Director General of NCAA, also read out the Riot Act to passengers and aviation staff, especially actions bordering on unruliness and unprofessionalism. Our correspondent, Kumbi Aboluwade, has more.
The unruliness of air passengers, as well as the unprofessionalism of aviation staff in Nigeria, is the focus of this meeting organized by the National Civil Aviation Security Committee in Abuja. Critical security stakeholders, lawmakers, airline operators, among other aviation staff, are all present for this meeting.
Security Committee
In his welcome address, the chairman of the committee, who is also the Director General, Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority, speaks on the essence of the meeting.
As a regulator, the NCA has seen the urgent need to call the responsible parties together to ensure our respective roles and responsibilities are not only understood as detailed in several documents, but carried out professionally and effectively. Today's engagement is not about pointing fingers or appointing blame. No. That will not achieve the desired result. It is rather about listening, discussing, and awakening us to our individual and collective responsibilities towards a safe and secure air transport sector.
Lawmakers who are also present lend their voices to the subject matter while preferring solutions.
The challenge we have as a people and as a nation is one of discipline and lack of professionalism. We have a responsibility to discharge our duties as and when due, and as we often say, without favor. We have enough rules, we have enough regulations. What is left is executing those rules, carrying out those regulations to the best of our ability in such a professional manner.
Other issues relating to devices on board were also brought to the fore, and a resolution was reached by the committee stating that all devices of air passengers on board must be switched off. Hopefully, these resolutions and others reached at this meeting will help eliminate the disturbing behavior of some aviation staff as well as passengers. From Abuja, Kumbi Aboluade, Channels Television News.
Well, still ahead on the news at 10, do you still experience poor airtime recharges or failed telecom transactions? Well, the Nigeria Communications Commission and the Central Bank of Nigeria are teaming up to address this issue. That's on Business News. We'll join us again. You're watching the news at 10, coming to you live from our Abuja studios. Nigeria must shift from reacting to disasters to a proactive and resilient approach. Well, this is a message at the validation workshop on the National Disaster Risk Reduction Strategy, a framework to safeguard lives, livelihoods and development gains. The Director of Disaster Risk Reduction, representing the Director General of NEMA, says the strategy is anchored on the Sendai framework. Our correspondent Benny Ark reports.
The National Emergency Management Agency, in partnership with the African Union Commission and the United Nations Development Programme, is holding this validation workshop in Abuja under the Sahel Resilience Project. The event brought together government officials, development partners, civil society, the private sector, academia, and community organizations, all focused on strengthening Nigeria's disaster management framework. The aim is to refine and validate the strategy to move the country from a reactive approach to a preventive and resilient system.
This gathering marks a significant milestone in our collective commitment to safeguard lives, livelihoods, and development gains in Nigeria against the increasing threats of disasters and climate change.
As we validate this strategy, three imperatives stand out. First, we must strengthen gender disaggregated data to guide effective interventions. Second, women, youth, and marginalized groups must be equal partners in decision-making, not just beneficiaries. Third, we must build the capacity of women-led organizations and community responders because the resilience starts at the community level.
The strategy is described as crucial for safeguarding lives, livelihoods, and development in the face of climate change.
Nigeria's disaster risk reduction strategy is more than a document. It is a blueprint for action. It will guide our efforts to reduce disaster risks, protect lives and livelihoods, and ensure no community is left behind.
The strategy is equally described as a timely roadmap to protect communities and institutions as calls for stronger commitment from all stakeholders resonates.
We must be inclusive and strategic in our input to ensure that this strategy becomes a truly actionable tool to empower institutions, protect communities, and ensure no one is left behind.
The workshop ends with a call for greater partnerships and collaboration to ensure Nigeria is safer, better prepared, and more resilient against future disasters. Benny Ark, Channels Television News.
And now to some company news. The managing director of Jaiz Bank, Mr. Haruna Musa, says the bank is now fully compliant with the new capital threshold issued by the Central Bank of Nigeria. He was speaking at the press briefing to unveil the bank's new corporate identity in Abuja. According to him, the rebranding of the bank is a bold statement of intent and a major milestone in the journey of the financial institution since it emerged as Nigeria's foremost ethical bank. Our correspondent Victoria Longjon has more.
It's a new dawn for Jaiz Bank as the managing director of the bank, Mr. Haruna Musa, and some of its board members unveil its new logo and colors, showcasing its rebranded corporate identity. This transformation is a strategic move that speaks to a deeper shift in banking and a deliberate effort by the bank to modernize its platforms while reaffirming its commitment to ethical, inclusive, and customer-focused banking.
This transformation speaks to a deeper shift in banking, one where customers demand transparency, fairness, and social impact. With our refreshed identity, our focus is very clear: to deliver accessible, ethical banking that celebrates Nigeria's rich cultural and religious diversity. Our new payoff line, "With you for life," reflects our promise to stand with our customers through every stretch of their journey.
The bank's management also explains the strategic reason behind the rebranding, improvements in financial statements, and plans to establish branches outside Nigeria.
In 2023, for the first time, our bank closed with a profit of about 11.4 billion. In 1 year, we have more than doubled that profitability to close at 24.4 billion. This year, 2025, we're aspiring to close beyond 30 billion. Honestly, we're seeing Jaiz Bank beyond Nigeria, because one of our key aspirations is to be among the top non-interest banks in Africa in the next 5 years. So once that is done, you will see Jaiz Bank, across Africa. Anybody who desires, ethics, honestly, Jaiz Bank is his or her bank. So it's for everybody. Again, the only difference is the fact that, as a bank, we do not receive interest and we don't give interest. Our model is based on profit and loss sharing.
Established nearly 14 years ago and operating 53 branches across Nigeria, Jaiz Bank, the trailblazing non-interest bank, is promising to remain steadfast in its mission to redefine ethical banking in Africa and beyond. From Abuja, Victoria Longjon, Channels Television News.
And that's not all. Staying with the bank's new corporate identity, Jaiz Bank also announced plans to commence operations of its MasterCard by the 1st of September 2025.
We're also happy to inform the general public that Jaiz Bank, in partnership with MasterCard International, we are about to relaunch our Jaiz Naira MasterCard, effective from September 1st, inshallah. So with that, our stakeholders, our customers, people can pick up Jaiz Bank and have their transactions abroad. So again, with the Visa card initiative that we are introducing sometimes very soon, and the MasterCard initiative, you will see our card numbering aligning with, the top tier banks in the country. So this is a project that we have already concluded. Like I said, we are about to launch, and hopefully by September 1st, this thing will be launched. We would also like to reassure you that, just like I said, our rebranding is not just cosmetics about changing our color or corporate identity. It's about revamping our operations completely so that we can be able to enhance our operational efficiency. So you are going to see a brand new app, sometime soon, with all the features, including WhatsApp banking.
Well, that's it from the nation's capital. Up next is Business News with Will Ibong.
Thank you, Millicent.
And the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, says it is working with the Central Bank of Nigeria on a new framework to standardize airtime recharge and reduce failed transactions in the country. The NCC Executive Vice Chairman, Amidu Maida, explained that telecom operators have submitted network upgrade plans to address poor connectivity, while telcos will also be held accountable for service quality. On data complaints, Maida said recent audits found no evidence of deliberate deductions, but admitted that confusing tariffs continue to frustrate subscribers. He disclosed that new disclosure rules will soon take effect to make pricing clearer and more transparent for consumers. Now, the African Development Bank says Africa loses over $580 billion each year to corruption and illicit capital flows, a drain bigger than the continent's annual infrastructure gap of $170 billion. The FDB president, Dr. Akiwumi Adesina, who made this known during an interview with Bloomberg, warned that the losses, alongside a debt burden nearing $2 trillion, are crippling African economies. He stresses that while loans and debt relief matter, the most urgent step is curbing corruption and illicit outflows to safeguard Africa's resources and cut reliance on unsustainable borrowing. Now, the Nigerian Economic Summit Group is preparing for the 31st annual gathering, NEST 31, set to hold between October the 6th and October the 8th. The flagship event, which is a joint initiative with the Federal Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning, is expected to deliberate on strategies for national growth and sustainable development. The Economic Think Tank Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Tayo Aduloju, also highlighted some key expectations from the upcoming events.
It's now time to move the whole country to what we call Wave 2, which is reforms that now start to show in terms of market expansion, job creation, poverty reduction, higher consumption because of more money in people's pockets. And those type of reforms require a specific set of imperatives. And there are 5 of those imperatives. 1 is you have to expand investment intensity. 2 is we have to pivot to industrialization because, of course, you can't be an import-dependent country and be rich. Number 3 is inclusion. You cannot discuss we are winning, and millions are left behind. Number 4 is, to ensure that institutions that must sustain longer-term growth and productivity are calibrated to do so. And number 5, maybe most significantly, is you can't discuss growth with insecurity. You need to tackle insecurity to have growth.
Now, profit-taking is in full swing at the NGX. The stock market reversed the mild gains recorded on Monday as the all-share index tumbled over 1%. Ini John Mekwa has the details.
Everyone, welcome to the stock market report. Well, it was just a brief recovery for yesterday because today the market is deeply in the red. 334 billion naira shaved off this market cap. So we lost the 91 trillion naira and we're down to 90 trillion naira, and it's almost 1.5% red for the all share. So there you have it. From 144 that we closed with yesterday, we're down to 142,000 level for that. Market move, a major driver of this is Dangote Cement. Dangote Cement, each of the stock lost 57 naira today. And so even though it opened at 577 naira, it closed at 520 naira. Investors are really doing something with their investments, right? They look at the sectors, and they have also contributed to that. Banking retains the red color, lost down almost 2% or more than 2% because of Accessco, GTCO, and Zenith Bank. So you see it right there in the red. Consumer goods managed to survive because of Cadbury and NMI Wear, and so we see that in the green, but not for oil and gas. Owando, Japan Gold also experienced profit taking from the market, and so we see that in the red. And so at the close of trade today, it's a red market, losing that 144,000 level, and the bear is happy for that.
Let's see the closing numbers for other major equities around the world. And that's business news. Is back to Anne for more on the news at 10. Thank you, Will. Nigeria has vowed to impose reciprocal measures against the United States citizens seeking visa to the country, following the U.S. mission in Nigeria's latest announcement on social media accounts. Under the new U.S. rules, not only have visas been reduced to single-entry permits valid for 3 months only, applicants are also required to disclose 5 years of social media accounts, their emails, telephone numbers, and other personal information. The spokesperson for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Akimebi Ebienfa, says the ministry convened an interagency meeting with the Ministry of Interior and the National Intelligence Agency, as well as impose these reciprocal measures.
Fine, they've announced the implementation. We'll study it. I think what will happen is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, in collaboration with the Ministry of Interior, where we have our Nigerian Immigration Service, and also relevant security agencies, will have an interagency meeting to agree on how best to respond to this. But the fact is this: as far as you are mandating or requesting our nationals to make available their social media handles when they are applying for your visa, definitely we are going to request that too when your own citizens are applying for Nigerian visa. So we can't rule that one out. Definitely there will be reciprocal actions.
Outside our shores, U.S. President Donald Trump has ruled out sending troops to Ukraine as part of the country's security guarantees if a peace deal is reached. During an interview on Fox News, President Trump hinted at U.S. air support, saying that Russian President Vladimir Putin will face a rough situation if he does not cooperate in the peace process. And this is coming after his talks on Monday with members of the coalition of the willing alongside the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Here's Simon Pisa with more international news in Around the World in 5.
Hi, Mark. Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. President Volodymyr Zelensky has said he's never had a better meeting with Donald Trump following his return to the White House.
President Trump, sir, your message to the people of Ukraine as world leaders gather here today.
It's an honor to have the president of Ukraine with us. We've had a lot of good discussions, a lot of good talks.
It was very different to his previous appearance, with the Ukrainian president overly deferential to his US hosts.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. If I can, first of all, thank you for the invitation and thank you very much for your efforts, personal efforts to stop killings and stop this war. Thank you. And using this opportunity, many thanks to your wife, First Lady of the United States.
He also changed his attire, for once switching from his combat-style clothes to a more formal look.
President Zelensky, you look fabulous in that suit.
I said the same thing.
Yeah, you look good.
I said the same thing.
Yeah, looks good.
I said the one that attacked you last time.
Yeah.
See, now I remember that.
Yeah, I apologize to you. You look wonderful. No, my first question for you, President Zelensky.
In the same suit. You see, I changed, you are not.
Several European leaders also flew to Washington to attend the meeting days after Mr. Trump met Russia's President Vladimir Putin in Alaska.
The war in Ukraine has had a huge impact, particularly on the Ukrainians who've borne the brunt of it, but it's also had an impact on Europe and on the United Kingdom. There's not a family or community that hasn't been affected. And when we talk about security, we're talking about the security not just of Ukraine, we're talking about the security of Europe and the United Kingdom as well, which is why this is such an important issue.
Despite optimistic words by Mr. Trump and some more lukewarm assessments from his European partners, there were no concrete commitments to security guarantees or steps towards a peace deal. Hamas has agreed to the latest proposal from regional mediators for a Gaza ceasefire and hostage release deal with Israel. The proposal from Egypt and Qatar is said to be based on a framework put forward by US envoy Steve Witkoff in June. It would see Hamas free around half of the 50 remaining hostages, 20 of whom are believed to be alive, in 2 batches during an initial 60-day truce. There would also be negotiations on a permanent ceasefire. It is unclear what Israel's response will be, as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office said last week that it would only accept a deal if all the hostages are released in one go. India and China should view each other as partners rather than adversaries or threats. That's according to Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi, as he arrived for a two-day visit to Delhi. Yi met with India's foreign minister, only the second such meeting between the two sides since 2020, when deadly clashes in the Galwan Valley in Ladakh, a disputed Himalayan border region, led to a complete breakdown of ties between the countries. Relations are now on a positive thread towards cooperation, Yi said, ahead of a meeting with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Tuesday. Canada's Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is projected to win a crucial by-election in the province of Alberta to secure a new parliament seat after losing his constituency in the last general election. With final ballots still being counted, Poilievre led with 80.4% of the vote in the rural riding of Battle River Crawford, according to initial results from Canada's Electoral Commission. His projected victory comes 4 months after his party was defeated by Mark Carney's Liberals, and he lost the Ottawa area seat he had held for 2 decades to Liberal Bruce Fanjoy.
This fall, as Parliament returns, we will not only oppose out-of-control Liberal inflation, crime, immigration, cost of living, and housing prices, but we will propose real solutions for safe streets, secure borders, a stronger and sovereign country with bigger take-home pay for our people.
And an art gallery has successfully secured sufficient funds to buy a Dame Barbara Hepworth sculpture after reaching the target of £3.8 million. Sculpture with colour, pale blue and red, will go on permanent display at the Hepworth Wakefield after preempting its 27th of August deadline to raise the funds. The gallery received more than 2,800 donations from the public, as well as £1.8 million from the National Lottery Heritage Fund and £750,000 from Art Fund.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel's studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. Welcome to Sports News. Nigeria's Super Eagles Team B has bowed out of the African Nations Championship with a morale-boosting 2-0 win over Congo in Dar es Salaam. But it was not enough to rescue their campaign as Sudan and Senegal progressed from Group D. The result, sealed by goals from Anas Yusuf and Sikiru Alimi, restored some pride for the Super Eagles after back-to-back defeat had condemned them to an early elimination. Congo needed a win to keep their own hopes alive. We are left devastated, finishing bottom of the pool. Meanwhile, in the simultaneous fixture in Kampala, Sudan and Senegal drew 0-0, a result that saw both nations reach the quarterfinals with 5 points each, with Sudan finishing top. Nigeria's D Tigers face a big test against 5-time African champion Senegal in the quarterfinals of the FIBA AfroBasket on Wednesday in Luanda, Angola. Nigeria's D Tiger enjoy a superior head-to-head records against Senegal at FIBA competitions with 5 wins compared to Senegal 3. If Nigeria's D Tigers advance to the last 4 on Wednesday, they will also secure a spot in the 2026 FIBA Basketball World Cup qualifying tournament. And FIBA AfroBasket reigning champions Tunisia saw their 2025 campaign come to an abrupt end after an 87-54 loss to Cape Verde earlier today in the qualification game for the quarterfinal in Luanda, Angola. It was Tunisia's third loss in 4 games in the Angola capital. Before the classification round for the quarterfinals, Tunisia lost to Nigeria, Cameroon, but they trounced Madagascar 81-60 in their final Group B game. With the win, Cape Verde are back in the quarterfinals for the second consecutive time, having finished 4th 4 years ago in Kigali, Rwanda.
Thank you, Chris. And the main news again. The Federal High Court in Abuja today granted the DSS request to shield witnesses in the trial of Owo bombing suspects. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Nwawade. From all of us here, it's good night.